everyone. My name is Melissa. I'm a sophomore from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And today I'm presenting my research on the use of Microsoft Copilot in investment analysis. So since my niche industry was in the infrastructure and the data centers, my project focused on how Microsoft Copilot would perform when it was analyzed in data center investment proposals. And for the approach of this project, I wanted to understand how changing the outputs, like assigning different investment roles or changing the tones of the prompts, uh, would affect the way that Copilot structures like its outputs, especially on the framing of them. So the main goals were to analyze two things. First was how reliable Copilot is used in investment research, and the second goal is to how it could be improved to better serve investors. So for the research brief, diving into more in how this AI tool works, Microsoft Copilot is an AI system that uses natural language processing and operates across Microsoft websites and products such as Excel, Outlook, and Teams. And for my research, I use it through its web-based chatbot interface. And the main goal of the tool which is like basically what it performs best, it's to improve the efficiency of work-related tasks, such as summarizing documents, organizing reports, and giving insights to the user. So I choose Microsoft Copilot because usually investment analysis require a lot of reviewing of long documents and identifying the risks and like opportunities of an investment project. So it seemed like a great tool to test. And for the method, in the research brief phase, I tested how prompt as specificity and tone impacted the outputs, and I compared like the vague and specific prompts. Okay, so so for the vague and input and specific outputs, I wanted to understand. What is it? I tested how I tested and compared the vague and specific inputs. So I asked the AI chatbot like to explain why women are underrepresented in STEM, and that was like the vague prompt. And then for the more specific, I wanted to understand like more of the background, the historical backgrounds, and like all the social roots of this issue. And for the second one, I analyzed the optimistic versus the skeptical tone-based prompts. And for example, on the first one, the optimistic, the word benefits would give the optimistic tone to the input. As well, while in the more skeptical, I specified like, oh, tell me the risks of this, of the use of AI. So, as I mentioned, I wanted to understand whether small wording differences would meaningfully change how Copilot framed its analysis. And the strengths that I found from this was that the AI really stick to the tone of the input, which is basically also a trade-off because the AI basically tells you what you want it to like what you write, like it tells you exactly like the prompt. And another strength is that it gave me like really structured outputs. So it really separated like the risks and like the opportunities. And for the weaknesses is that it repeated a lot of information with paraphrasing, which um, which is bad for like the analysis. So for my research question, I realized like how important it is like to understand why the AI is connected to the leak. How how assigning different roles and changing the characteristics of the investor change the tools analysis of data centers and investment proposals, which was basically connected to my niche industry. So for the experimental investigation, I basically used like a case study approach of an AI data center expansion company called NextDC. And this is a company based in Australia, and it's a data center company that wanted to build like an AI factory, which are data centers specifically designed to support large scale AI workloads, such as training like huge models. I tested with 16 prompt variations to analyze the investment viability of this project. And they varied like across four categories for such as neutral, specific role based. So I specify like the role of the investor, such as venture capitalist, analyst, and private equity investor. And the third one was tone based. As I wanted to understand more like the tone and how the output would be influenced by that. And the fourth one, I specified the geographical location of the investor. So it varied between these locations. And this matters to investors because they seek to speed the process of analyzing investment proposals, especially on the first steps of analyzing the first documents. And then they will be able to do a more analytical analysis of the investment. So for the rubrics, as I explained, I wanted to analyze the tone of the outputs and compare like those and compare the differences in content prioritization. So I asked the AI to summarize the document and tell me the risks and opportunities. And I compared how each of them, each of the outputs worked. So each time that I asked Copilot to summarize the proposal, I evaluated like the risks and opportunities, as I mentioned. And what I found is that they had less emphasis on opportunities in more conservative type of investors, such as conservative, short-term, and pessimistic. And for all the other type of investors, they all gave me like the same number of risks and opportunities of the document, which is something that shows that how the two really adheres to the role of the investor. Another finding was hallucination of the geographical location. So basically, it kind of repeated the scarcity of a high density liquid capacity, to like, which was like one of the points that explained why the company, like why this investment proposal would be viable to investors, which is something that I found really interesting. And finally, the results is that on the final verdict, which is basically was a section of the output that showed if the investment would be viable or not. Um, there was like a condition sentence that showed that like the investment would be viable only if something happened. And this thing that went after the conditional statement was basically really aligned to the characteristic of the role of the investor. And that shows that outputs are highly influenced by the overall role assigned to the investor. So for the interpretation, that means that what I found is that Microsoft is really good at screening investment proposals and summarizing project risks and strengths. And that's something that should definitely be used in the spring investment panel. But also, these two should be used as a secondary and like complementary tool in our analysis because it contains hallucinations and the the outputs are basically what the user puts in the prompts. So to kind of minimize one of these, like the two issues that I found on tone framing and like hallucinations, I suggested that they should have a task focused prompt templates, which basically Copilot could include investment specific templates designed by financial analysts and compliance professionals, and they would be like developed through a collaboration between Microsoft and this type of firms. And these structured prompts would help Copilot's analysts by reducing excessive tone-driven shifts in the emphasis of the risks and opportunities that I found. And it would help investors to have outputs that are more aligned to their needs because they would filter the tasks that they wanted to perform. As for the inline citation system, that was basically an idea to reduce the hallucinations and would help the investors to identify when the tool is hallucinating and repeating information. So it would be like directly connected to each of the claims that the output does. So thank you.
For your like application proposal part, you go to add about adding on task focus templates. Could you like elaborate more on like what kind of tasks you will like try to like how to like focus on like
So as I mentioned, like Microsoft would be like a great tool on the screening process of like long documents. So one of the prompts that would be like available would be like summarize this document and then would be adapted to like the investors like needs. I don't know if that answers your question.
Sure, Mel. Being your mentor throughout this entire process, I'm so proud of all the work you put in, and it's really shown through the presentation today. My question for you is, through this entire process, what is like one important thing that you've learned about the use of Microsoft Copilot?
Okay, thank you for your question. So I think what I learned that it should be used more ethically, especially because it contains a lot of hallucinations. If you keep like on the same chat, and like ask follow-up questions, you would just like the answers are only going to be based on what you asked before. So I would be like more mindful in how to use AI, especially on like investment viability, like deciding if a project or like a company proposal is like viable to invest or not, because the investor like it's money is involved on that. So the investor obviously don't want like an analysis that is like really biased and like contain hallucinations. So yeah, I would be like more mindful in how to use AI.